what is hindering it from executing this mandate or even capturing power. Renowned political scientists have argued that the opposition in any country must not only be a vehicle for opposing government, but also be able to provide alternative policy to complement government efforts to improve people's living standards. The Ugandan opposition since independence has been described as reactionary and inefficient when the call to offer the alternative is made. Currently, the opposition in Uganda is led by FDC at the level of parliament, where policies are articulated and debated. The shadow cabinet has presented several policy alternatives, but there are claims that the NRM is too arrogant to adopt some otherwise good suggestions. With regard to governance, the NRM has remained dominant at both the local and national leadership levels, capturing all majority elective seats, although it has recently suffered defeat in parliamentary by-elections. The opposition has remained weak and divided, and in some opposition parties, wrangles are killing off even the little gains that had been made. Parties that were stronger at independence, such as the UPC and DP, are now being swallowed up by new political parties. While it is critical to plan early enough for major elections like those anticipated in 2016, some opposition parties are still stuck at their headquarters, from where the leaders will emerge panicking, expecting to wrest power from the NRM, which is now fairly well entrenched. Currently, FDC is leading the way to put in place a new team amidst accusations typical of the bad politics common today. The founding president is likely to contest again as flag bearer, according to some indications. As he himself has said, nothing can stop him. So as we prepare to commemorate independence next month, we look at the caliber of the opposition have today, the challenges they face as an alternative, and how they can position themselves to wrest power from the entrenched NRM party. Our guests tonight, Mr. Fred Bamwine, RDC or Residence District Commissioner, Mpigi District. You're most welcome, Mr. Bamwine.
Thank you so much. Good evening, listeners and viewers.
Viewers, because we are also on the internet. We also are joined by Hon Samuel Odonga Otto, Aruu County MP from the FDC Party. You're most welcome, Hon Odonga Otto.
Thank you.
We expect to be joined by Hon Bettie, Kamya, President of the Uganda Federal Alliance. Hon Otto, how would you gauge the opposition at independence and now?
I would say, in my capacity as a political scientist, that the opposition in Uganda is barely 10 years old. We have been on sabbatical since Article 269 in the former constitution. It suspended all activities of political parties. So we are hardly 7 years in opposition, which comes with its challenges. The challenges could be 3 or 4, but most importantly, the nature of most revolutions. You read all the revolutions. Let's start from Ugandan revolution by President Museveni, the Angolan revolution under Jonas Savimbi. You go to South Korea, you go to those countries like Mao Zedong in South Africa, in Cuba. Most of the revolutions, the leaders of those revolutions die in power. So Uganda is seemingly no exception. And loyalty to the regime is rewarded, and dissent to the regime is punished very heavily. Just look at Cuba. Fidel Castro is almost senile and out of office, but the degree of loyalty in the ranks and files from the RDCs, from the army officers, is still intact. So Uganda is also no exception. That the NRM revolution is person to holder. Everything is with President Museveni. That is the first challenge we have. It is not only in Uganda but all around the world, to the extent that you don't see any serious dissent from NRM. The Kategayas try to get out, you fear you'll be witch hunted. So no one wants to walk away, because the nature of the revolution is such that the revolution will eat you if you dare walk away. Those who walked away, like Dr. Kizito, we all know what has happened to him, to the extent that very many people are discouraged from undergoing the same thing which happened to Dr. Besigye. Muntu has walked away. We all see what is happening to him. So I would say the first challenge in Uganda is the nature of the leadership of the revolution. So other than blaming us, we should also blame those that make opposition multi-party system don't function well in Uganda. The second one, of course, is that all political parties, whether NRM, FDC, DP, UPC, JEMA, the personality of the individual tends to be more prominent than the institutional setup. I was in South Africa, in the ANC. You'll find the youth chairman of ANC in one of the provinces. Very powerful. They even make him collect revenues, like for water, electricity, and all this. And you find the ANC chapter in a particular district, in a particular state. Very powerful. But in the Ugandan case, the institutional structures are not powerful. We have very many powerful individuals who use their personal money to come to parliament, to the extent that they don't see the party as their parent. You try to descend on individuals, you say, it's my money. I brought FDC into power. FDC did not bring me. So the challenge, the second challenge is the nature of our opposition. They are not strong, they follow individuals. And maybe the third challenge that relates to opposition is that we have overstayed in opposition.
Yes.
Yeah, we've overstayed in opposition, that to the extent that some people think their role is to oppose.
Well, but you just said the opposition is only 10 years old.
Yeah, but we've seemingly overstayed in opposition. That some people seem to be in a comfort zone. Because now if you are like a leader of opposition, you have a lead vehicle, you have a government vehicle, you have escorts, you have a huge budget in your office. The favor, the privileges you get is slightly more than that of a cabinet minister. Why would you want to change?
Might as well stay there.
Why would you want to change government? So we are also engaged among ourselves, fighting for the juicy things on the opposition side, which is really very unfortunate, if I have to say that.
We'll talk about it. Of course, I mean, some of the historical facts that need correct. You said, you listed a number of some of these revolutions that you say that their leaders tend to die in power. Factually, South Africa, the leader didn't die in power. Nelson Mandela. Cuba, Fidel Castro did not die in power. He steps aside. Savimbi was not in power. He was a rebel leader. He died fighting though. Fred Bamwine, how would you gauge the opposition? Draw some lines between the opposition at independence and the opposition now.
No, I want to thank Honorable Otto for his candid assertion and last for admitting that the opposition has overstayed in power.
The opposition has overstayed in the opposition.
And they are also enjoying the juicy things. And I think that puts the whole country in a quagmire. But I think, to me, apart from him, he assumed that 50 years of independence starts with Museveni, which I think it's a departure. Because when you're talking of Uganda at 50 years, we are talking of 1962 to date. Therefore, at independence time, we had people were in government and people were in opposition. And according to your presentation, we are trying to analyze the nature of opposition since independence. And I can rightly say that the biggest mistake which people have not yet analyzed it critically, including my colleague who is a scientist, political scientist, is did we get independence actually? That's the issue. What did Ugandans expect at independence and what did they get? That's where the problem is. By the time the British decided to pick Ugandans to go and make a constitution in Lancaster, that's why we missed it. I don't think that we missed we failed to have a room in Uganda or even under tree shade, sit down and write our own constitution and chart our own way forward. But the day they decided to pick some people, take them to London and decided for Uganda in London, that's where we got it wrong. Whether in opposition, whether in government, anybody who participated in that meeting of Lancaster laid the foundation of roadblocks that we are facing to date. Therefore, at independence, people are just excited. They were seeing these people are going away, the whites are going away, black people are going to come in, the Union Jack is going to go down, the Uganda flag is going to up, but they did not analyze what does independence mean. If up to now you have one Speaker of Parliament putting on that wig, what does it symbolize? That wig, does it add on the knowledge or the brains? Look at the judges. In this hot weather, you find them in wigs. So now, as long as we don't sit down as intellectuals to analyze what do we need to have for Uganda, we are still a long way to go. But at the honest time, the opposition leaders, equal with people in government, We are just in excitement of seeing those people going away without a thorough analysis of what we are going to achieve as independence and what we have actually achieved.
That's why let's strip all of that.
Independence actually lasted for about 2 years, 62, 64. From that time, we ended up into Quagmire. People in opposition were in prison, arrested, died. People in government, the same thing. So Otto becomes absolutely right to say that the opposition in Uganda maybe can be talked about since 2005. Since 2005. Because now from 2005, you can be a DP person or an FDC person and oppose government principally, and you remain okay. But that time to oppose government was not a guarantee.
It was treason.
It was treason. You oppose government, you ever disappear. I remember, let's say, wow, stood in the parliament and said, can we constitute a committee to investigate money for coffee marketing board? That man has never reached his constituency. But now at least, you can oppose government, principally, you agree and disagree. But also to me, the problem is, for instance, government has come and said, let us have universal primary education. Let us have universal primary education, UP and USE.
Yes.
Let us have mass immunization. Let us have power generation as core sectors of the economy. Let us have roads. Let us have household incomes. And at the end of the day, the opposition is seriously turning down these proposals, which may be right maybe to them. But if they said, for instance, for us we don't support UPE, we support something, education for a few, maybe it could, let it come on table. But for them, they criticize, they undermine, and they leave it on table. The other day when they went and reported us in the House of Commons,
yes,
that these people should not get money for education, for UPE and USE. Now, to be a government in waiting, and you are undermining your own country in a foreign country. And in fact, I normally tell the people that some things that are being done now may not be done under a different government. Because what kind of leadership are you preparing? Look, you, for instance, don't like maybe household income. What are you proposing for the economy? For us, we are saying as a government, we are saying we need at least every household to get food and income.
Yes.
For its people.
Yes.
So what is the alternative from opposition? What is the alternative? That's why at the end of the day, me like somebody who is in government, we are being burdened. No wonder that in parliament now, NRM people have turned themselves into opposition.
Yes.
Because they are not seeing any fire from this side, so they are helping the opposition maybe to gain some strength. But normally opposition world over should be coming up with these sharp alternatives to show that if you are not performing by the next election, for us we are coming with this program.
But the issues, as I said earlier, yes, the issues in Uganda is not, the elections in Uganda is not issue based. It is personality based. And you need to address your mind here.
I'm coming to that. I've started with
personality based.
Yeah. I've started with issues. I've started with issues. So by the next election, the voters are saying, no, I think we need to vote Odongo's party because it has A, B, C, D, which is valuable to us. Let's come to the personality issues. I don't want to mention names, but we know who have been standing around in this country.
Yes.
And what issues these people have been, how they have been conducting themselves in front of the public. In fact, I remember one presidential candidate.
Yes.
Where people said, if this man can speak like this without power,
what happens?
What about if he gets it?
All right, listeners, this is question on Radio 1 tonight. Uganda at 50. Is the opposition capable of providing an alternative? What is hindering it from executing this mandate or even capturing power? Guests, Mr. Bamwine, RDC Mpigi, and Hon Samuel Odonga Otto, Aruu County MP from the FDC Party. We expect to be joined by Hon Bettie, Kamya, President of the Uganda Federal Alliance. Hon Odonga, how do we break this out of this eggshell where the opposition begins to challenge?
Just in and today, I'm talking as a political scientist, not so much as an FDC politician. You see, we either put up or shut up. The deliberate attempts by the ruling party to undermine opposition must stop, because opposition is healthy. There is an attempt to demonize the opposition. Especially in the police and in the army. People don't see us as legitimate people. They see us as treasonable individuals. Every time a prominent presidential candidate emerges, like Dr. Bettie, you charge him for treason. It has a big bearing on all the FDC cadres all over the country. To the extent that an ordinary peasant will say, FDC may cause me problems. Every time anyone comes prominently, they are demonized. They are summoned before court, charges of rape and all this. So we really need to be professionals. Like when Arsenal is playing with Man U, it's just a game at the end of the day, giving alternatives. So a deliberate effort must be made in the Ugandan political scene to stop demonizing the opposition. Personally, I have ever, together with Professor Mpigi, we went for a rally in my constituency. Because of lack of proper communication, the army wanted to block our rally in Acholibu. But the signals which were sent on radio, the army down there perceived it like we are enemies of the state. And we got roughed up and beaten up. So unless people see opposition as a necessary component of government, to check government, we will be going nowhere. Secondly, the regime and state has been fused.
Yes.
Ordinarily, I shouldn't be on radio here with Bamwine. Bamwine is a public servant. He's not a politician. Ordinarily, he should be working for the state, for the government of the Republic of Uganda. But the way you hear him talking, he sounds like a regime mobilizer.
Yeah, I'm not a civil servant.
And it is not your problem. The idea of resident district commissioners, I would want to see if I go to Mpigi. I would walk to Bamwine's office. I say I have a rally in Mpigi. Say, oh, you're welcome.
But I've done it.
No, yeah, individually there are people who excel. But others will have to make phone calls in Kampala that maybe it will cause him problem if the opposition have rallies. So unless the state and the regime is diffused, we will definitely go nowhere. That's why I thank FDC. We decided to have presidential campaigns public. Now the police has no option. They can't stop us because they know Nandala's camp is going to attack Muntu. Muntu's camp is going to attack Nandala, and they seemingly enjoy it. But ordinarily, if we had said we wanted to have an ordinary FDC rally, you remember how they were clogging and crashing our rallies all over the country. So I appeal to those who are listening, those who are in the security apparatus of the country. I, like Odonga Otto, I took an oath to be an opposition member of parliament. My role is to check government. Yes. I've even found senior police officers and senior army officers asking me, why don't you join the NRM? As if what I'm doing is very wrong. So we should really appreciate the importance of opposition. The leader of opposition in UK, I forgot the name, in 1988, while flying over Southern Africa, his plane got a problem and he had to make an emergency landing in one of the local airfields. So when he landed, the army came and say, who are you? Say, I'm the leader of opposition. He was immediately arrested and even tied. And they called State House that, they called State House that this man, the government, the leader of opposition, we have got him. Maybe they thought they had got Joseph Coyne. So unless the ordinary people down there appreciate that the Odonga Ottos would talk about corruption, we will be ending up in court. For me, I have had 17 cases in court just because I'm a member of opposition. The police fear, the prosecution fear, the judges fear, everyone seemingly, these are members of opposition, they're enemies of President Museveni. So being an opposition member in Africa, I want to say this without fear, is a sacrifice. If you can avoid it, please, I would advise you to avoid it. It is not a very lucrative business. Right.
Has the opposition upgraded itself though? Let's look at that side. Has the space, whatever space you have, you already said there's some space now, it's still curtailed, but has it used it well?
We are all products of our society. Definitely we are products of our society. So whatever strengths we have, we are made in Uganda. Whatever weaknesses we have, we are also made in Uganda. We are not from planet Mars. So we've really tried, especially in parliament, to give legitimate opposition to government, to expose those who have stolen public funds, to do ABCD. I think the public out there can definitely appreciate. But as Mr. Bamwine said, we are also joined by some liberal NRM members who are now like opposition, that they don't believe what the executive is doing.
What the opposition is doing.
They are saying we need 36 billion for health workers.
Yes.
They went to NRM caucus and refused. They came to the house and joined as members of opposition. So the ordinary Ugandan voters there, when you are voting for people, why do we have opposition of 60 MPs and ruling party of 270? You make our work very difficult. They should, at least it should be fairly balanced, like in the Parliament of Ghana. The difference should be a little minimum, not an absolute majority. So the voters, the listeners there, you are there also to blame.
All right, we're going for a break. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. We're going for a break. We'll be back to talk about some of the issues that are happening in the FDC campaign. Nandala Mafavi and Mujisha Muntu. What exactly is happening and why are they fighting each other with bare knuckles?
As we celebrate 50 special years, Nile Special invites you to toast to our great land. Nile Special, the rich, rewarding taste from the source. You've earned it. When I sip from the Nile.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
It's your time to get capital for your business.
In some parts of this city, doing business is a whole different ballgame. In Owino, how do you get your business to survive? In Chikubo, money is made by the tick of every second. You slip, you fall. On Nasa Road, you need to go beyond creativity to survive. Are you that young, brilliant, enthusiastic entrepreneur with great business acumen to survive in downtown Kampala? What is your business idea? The first ever weekly local reality TV series, Sawaya Cash. The best business mind receives startup capital of 5 million Uganda shillings in cash every week. Pick application forms from any Bank of Africa branch today and MTN service centers near you, or get a copy of the Saturday Monitor to register for auditions.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum. Tonight, Uganda at 50. Is the opposition capable of providing an alternative? What is hindering it from executing this mandate or even capturing power? Our guests tonight, Mr. Bamwine, Resident District Commissioner, Mpigi District, Hon Samuel Odonga Otto, Aruu County MP from the FDC Party. We'll be able to call in and contribute to this discussion this evening. Let's talk about Fred Bamwine. You're planning to say something.
Yeah, to me and Otto have come from far. But he made very interesting statements. He said some people in opposition are like in a comfort zone. That means they are comfortable with where they are, and they are also enjoying. And that one discourages them to aspire for power, maybe for leadership, or for having an alternative views. And at the same time, he says it is not good to be in opposition. Now, which is which? Once you have said it is good for some people in opposition to be in a comfort zone, then those ones are comfortable and they are comfortable in opposition. There's a party which started in 1956, 54. I can tell you, whenever you attempt to give it some ways of power, they just run away. And it is known, it is here. Honorable Otto has talked about 17 cases, not because it is in opposition.
No, it's because
he knows. Otto,
but the opposition has been hard.
He has just mentioned, he said there was poor communication. He mentioned poor communication when he had a rally with Honorable Oratigo,
then leader of opposition.
Once he has mentioned lack of proper communication, it means he did not effectively communicate. Therefore, it's likely to end in a crossfire. I am an example. I have been an RDC for some time. Opposition people have come to me and said, we want to have a rally somewhere. And I have organized it for them, alerted the police, provided the security, they have their meeting, and it is done. So it is also not good to say, police is seemingly enjoying the rallies of FDC. It is doing its noble job. It knows in this country there are political parties and they are now changing leadership. And therefore we should give them credit to have provided that kind of protection and to make sure that all parties can also erect their leadership and they do their civil role of providing law and order. So I think you should need to give credit where it is due. Then he talked about demonizing opposition. I agree with him. that in all sides, there are always radicals. Much as he's mentioning demonizing opposition, it is true. Some people in NRM or in government demonize opposition, truly. But you know, where they say fire is answered with fire.
Yes.
You don't claim to be a radical in opposition and you think others are going to keep their heads low. I wish I am happy the way he ended. This country belongs to all Ugandans. Therefore, to me, I would want to appeal to opposition that if they say that the man who paves respect the great paves the way of his own greatness, you can.
Man who does what?
The man who paves respect the great paves the way of his own greatness. If you want to have favor, also give it to others.
Yes.
Don't expect to not be demonized when you are demonizing others. You know how, for instance, if the president of this country wanted to react to what is being talked about him in all forms by opposition groups, how would he reach? But he has challenged everybody. You speak and he just keeps quiet. And no wonder that when it comes to voting, what he has mentioned about character of leadership, people say, but among these gentlemen and women who have stood, this one has more qualities. We should go for him because of his character. So some of these issues he has raised.
You have been involved in rigging elections. Who are you?
Yes, but I'm trying to tell you, and at least what I'm saying, right? What you have mentioned about President Museveni, there's nothing you have not mentioned. And his reaction as a leader and head of state, fortunately you're a lawyer, if he wanted to use his power as a president, really, where would we have reached? But he praises smartly because he knows at the end of the day, the judges are there. And those who handle themselves poorly, they don't get the vote. So I think opposition, to me, as somebody in government, they have not helped government to perform better. That's why these members of NRM who have almost joined them, they are trying to say, you have not played your role, let us help you. And I don't know what is going to, how do we define now opposition now? Because in parliament now, NRM liberals have almost overshadowed them. So there's also competing for that space in opposition.
Yes.
So I think Honorable Otto and your colleagues who want Uganda to be better, step up, put up your socks. But at the same time, this is the last one at the list. He mentioned some people who are telling him that why don't you join NRM?
Yes.
Rightly so, they are seeing a very good material for NRM misplaced. This brain is very important for us. Why don't you join NRM and you build Uganda together?
And then who will be in opposition? Who will be in opposition? Because we need opposition.
Is it a guarantee that every country has a guarantee?
Yes.
For instance, you are talking to me.
The constitution of Uganda says.
Let me tell you, you are talking to me who is advocating that we go back to the moment system of governance where we have Ugandans voted by their merits.
Let's talk about the quality of the opposition. Let's look at the race for the FDC presidency. Nandala Mafabi, Mugisha Muntu, the two main contenders, the way they've conducted themselves, staring at each other.
Comfort zones,
You see, and this one also, you got to listen well. I wrote an article that will come out in the middle of of this week. One, there are three factors which someone should analyze concurrently. The elections, the campaign currently taking place is for FDC party president. The party president is not necessarily or automatically the presidential candidate. So we can have the party president elected in November,
yes,
but the presidential candidate can be someone else, or even me if I change my mind and I run. But the challenge we have now is this. We have Nandala Mafabi, who is the leader of opposition, contesting, and we have General Mugisha Muntu contesting. Now, those are the candidates, and Honorable Ikanya Geoffrey. But at times you may not understand what is going on inside FDC unless you look at the supporters. Where do they draw their support from? What do the mobilizers and supporters say? Let's isolate the candidates. Now, just on Saturday as I was driving with an MP to Gulu, I was shocked. She told me she was supporting Honorable Nandala Mafabi because she wants Dr. Besigye to be the presidential candidate.
Well, there's that thinking that if Nandala gets it, then Besigye
if
he becomes party president, then he runs for him.
I was theoretically thinking like that. But when I got an apologist who says if Nandala wins, he will not occupy the space, Dr. Besigye comes in. There are people who are in that group. There are those who think Nandala should both be the party president and presidential candidate.
And flag bearer.
And there are those who see that if General Muntu wins, it looks like that space will be a little covered for Dr. Besigye, and then he would subsequently become the presidential candidate. So these are the underlying forces. But it is healthy for FDC. The candidates are all competent, only that others are more competent than others. And I would want to comfortably say that me, Esoto, if I analyze all the candidates running, let me even include Dr. Besigye, Kamya, General Muntu, and Nandala Mafabi, I would say what we need now in opposition is hope. Because we are now becoming like magicians who go out and try to explain why a magic failed. We promise people, this time we shall make it, it doesn't come. This time we shall make it, doesn't come. So whichever candidate would be best for FDC is that candidate that brings hope.
Who is Dr. Besigye supporting at this time? You can tell us tonight.
He's been quiet, but as a political scientist, if you see most MPs from Western Uganda, if you see most MPs from Western Uganda behind Nandala, then the writing on the wall should be very clear. Because it cannot be a coincidence. This is just my political
reading
analysis. Some people may not be comfortable with it, but the moment you don't want me to think differently,
because that allows him to be flag bearer.
He has not committed himself, but if you deduce, at times, you read the writings on the wall. So what I would say, the opposition members out there, NRM has 70% in parliament. Let's first forget about presidential elections. That means, assuming the presidential election was rigged, every of the 270 NRM MPs would campaign for a presidential candidate. So since people listen to the MPs, it's most likely that the people are going to vote for the candidate that the MP would tell people to vote for.
Yes.
That's why in my area they vote for Dr. Besigye. So we need a candidate who can win, first of all, the individual NRM MPs in parliament to start coming to campaign for the opposition candidate.
Who is that?
Now, in the circumstance, if you are protagonist, you should give us space.
Who is that?
If you are protagonist, if you are a radical, you should give us space. We need
a moderate.
We need a moderate who can make the people in NRM feel at home and switch sides. But if you are to come and stand on a mountain and abuse the people in the other side, and they become a little more defensive, we will go nowhere. Even in Kenya, they had the Orange Alliance. So we really need to see a candidate who is humble, who can be accepted across board. For me, this radical opposition of saying so-and-so is in the NRM, as if it is wrong for an NRM member to join opposition, that kind of approach of chasing people away is not going to take us anywhere. And I don't have time for that. And in the circumstance, I would personally believe the right person now is General Mugisha Muntu.
Has Nandala served the opposition well as leader of opposition? Give us a little bit of analysis there.
In the circumstance, I think he has done his best. He has done his best, and he's a hardcore, radical, heading to fanaticism leader of opposition, that other than only effectively opposing NRM, he has also dismissed the other parties who are not so radical from the opposition side. So other than being 67 opposition MPs, who are now 30 something. Yes. So it is really an opposition in the real sense of the word. But will it bring us victory?
Even opposing the opposition.
Even opposing the lukewarm opposition. So will it bring victory in the silver platter? I would say no.
Talk to her. I mean, he says these are statements.
No, I think before the program, I was telling Honorable Otto, we met somewhere in a workshop. You know, the Honorable Otto used to know. It's like, was this man Paul and so?
Paul and so. So it's all becoming Paul.
Yes. Because I used to know Otto as a radical one. But recent
15 years he's grown up, he's mellowed a little bit. That happened.
I don't know, but something has happened to him. I want to thank him because of one thing. I mentioned it, I think, earlier. When you talk about the nature of candidates you present, I have already said it, I don't believe in parties myself.
Oh, what do you want?
I wanted the movement system, but I was defeated. So, in a situation that you have multi-parties in a country where you have almost 40 political parties and they are presenting candidates for a presidential seat, you need to look at the nature of candidates you are bringing out. Any group that brings a radical candidate, the voters will whip you, and they have always done it. So I really, and when we are moving this country.
So you prefer Mugisha Muntu?
No, I don't even, because I don't vote for him and I don't want him. Because it's going to be complicated for me. I want a person who is easy to...
The campaign.
Yeah, I mean, if you are campaigning a month, you get a problem. Now, but I am concerned about the words that are being used.
Explain what you have said, that you need a candidate who is more difficult to the campaign. That the campaigning Muntu would be difficult. This is a very serious statement.
Yes, what's your reading?
If you could elucidate.
I mean, it's not easy to the campaign Muntu. Muntu was a general in the army. He was an army commander, I think, the longest serving.
You can't bring red
so easy. The man has served in East Africa. So I need somebody who is easy to roll.
So if you could read for Nandala, if you have the chance.
If I can vote, I would vote for Nandala. Because Leslie is going to come back. Or Nandala. But this one is going to complicate the word.
Maybe can you give us your own thinking of the old parties, GPC and DP? Do they have a chance of re-emerging with the FDC being...
No, actually, I can even include NRM. All parties in Uganda, including NRM, the leaders must go in the dark room. The leaders need to go back in the dark room and come up with a formula of how they can produce good leaderships for their parties, which will result into good membership. All parties, including NRM, including these ones, if you watch the words of between Nandara and Camp and Muntu Camp, you think that the world is going to stop with their campaigns. Because if you start putting a death in the public, assuming one of those candidates become a presidential candidate, what are you going to do? You are the one who mentioned it. So you're helping the other groups to hammer you.
That's right. I agree.
So I think all the parties need to go back. They have not perfected in forming, in first of all, having strong leaderships and coming up with a good formula for their leaderships and the memberships.
And you said that about the NRM?
Even the NRM. You know how we messed up our primaries.
Oh, we saw the pictures.
That was terrible. So I hope that will not happen again. So equally, when you talk about DP, DP has how many groups now?
This rigging in Usuk, where the party constitution.
There are a lot of problems. There is now UPC. I don't know how many groups does it have. DP, all of the parties, they are not performing well, and this one will impact heavily on the voting of 2016. The nature of candidates that are likely to come.
When Museveni is not expected.
Who? President Museveni is going to come back. That one.
He'll be an old man at that time.
No, he's going to be 70.
You should tell him to.
No, that one is going to come back. In fact, those who thought that he may not come should get their doctors nearer. He's going to come back.
To arrest the heart attack. Well, let's hear from the listeners. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. You can call in now. Our number 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you are calling from. Spectrum, hello.
Good evening, Edmond.
Good evening, your name?
Yeah, thanks for hosting Bamwine and Aruu. It is expected.
Good evening. That sounds like Jimmy from Bungas. Yes, your name? All right. Spectrum, hello.
My name is Alex.
Alex, yes? Points made passionately. Spectrum, hello. Good evening, your name? Spectrum, hello. Hello. Yes, sir, your name? David, yes. Spectrum, hello.
Hello.
Yes, your name?
Good evening, man.
Good evening, your name?
I'm calling Edmond of
Edmond. Let's take our final caller. Spectrum, hello. Hello. Yes, your name, my friend?
Hello?
Yes, sir, your name? Good evening, sir, your name?
I would like to assure Otto.
Just 4 concerns, quick ones. Businje, you need to get me right. I say in Uganda, since the parties are less than 10 years, the individuals is seemingly still stronger than the party. We need to move to stages like South Africa where the party becomes stronger than the individual, and that would take probably 15, 20 years. That is what it ought to be,
right.
But it is seemingly not what it is. Alex says Nandala appeals to peasants. Excellent. There is no question about that. And is my leader of opposition in parliament. But what I want to tell you now, in parliament, out of the 270 MPs, you cannot have a shortcut to the peasants without them. Like for me, any presidential candidate who goes to Aruu, people will call me for my opinion. Then I'll tell them Edmond is the right one.
Right.
So shortcuts, to have a shortcut behind the 270 members of parliament, straight to the peasants, it is something I really want to watch to look at in my lifetime. But you need an approach where it practically, your candidature is even accepted within parliament. So my problem with my leader of opposition, Nandala Mafabi, has even dismissed UPC DP from the opposition. Not even an effort to add, he has been subtracting. But we need candidates who can add. AM says FDC opposition is weak in Uganda. You see the challenge we had as FDC, we said, do we call all the delegates in one room and the two candidates campaign for them and we vote the same day? Or do we move all around the country to popularize the party? So we selected the last option of moving all around the country to popularize the party. And now you see we can have comfortable rallies without the police breaking the rallies. So we have to choose that option. But if we get sneaked at Serena Conference Hall and you hear someone has emerged the candidate, it will make FDC stronger. Right. Now Edmond said, what is my reading of Muntu and Museveni? Let me tell you this. When I went for the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, I had audience with the president. And what came out clearly, and this is coming out in the article I wrote last week, the president says, after a long discussion, said, why do you support Bettie? Bettie is a criminal. I said, he's my candidate. You've made him a criminal. So who else? I said, okay, in FDC we have several options. Maybe we'll bring General Mugisha Muntu if you don't want Bettie. And what the president told me, I was shocked. He said, I made Muntu the army commander just because he does not take alcohol. He's not an important man to me. But I could read between his face, on his face, that the only excuse he had was issues of alcohol and that. Give us a percentage. You know, who didn't give us the name. Museveni Muntu, just in case. Actually, if the next election we have between, you know, removing President Museveni is not an event. It is a process. All right. So if you just say 60, 90, but I would really think General Mugisha Muntu would give President Museveni hands down in an election with a percent of 70-30. That's my prediction. Fred Bamwine.
Now, to me, there's somebody who's my OB. I wish you could call me. His name is Jimmy. It's a familiar voice. Yeah, I wish I could see him because I have that character of meeting my OBs. And he said, do you prefer your office in Uganda beyond the ruler? President Museveni, I think, I wish he was a ruler. That some of us are choosing him. Because for him, he has been a leader. If he was a ruler, some of us would be happy. But he's not. He's a leader. And that's why time and again he has been voted. But there are certain things he takes a lot of compromises. And some of you radicals are offended. No, not radicals. Some of us, we want a government that can be fair. Because you are radicals. No, because we think government should be effective. That's, you are radical. Whether radical or not, but I think President Museveni is not a ruler. He has been a leader, and because of his style of leadership, that's why he has gone so far. And I can assure him, Jimmy. Or if you listen to you, and I can assure him, Jimmy, that when I say President Museveni is coming back, we are not imposing him. We shall bring him as a presidential candidate. When there are no drugs in Mulago, you still want president. We decide whether he is supposed to be a president or not. But you can see whom he is going to contest with. I can tell you, Honorable. But it could very easily be Nandala. You know Nandala has a track record. I'm telling you, very briefly, you are going to be disappointed. Billions in a bit. Honorable, we are going to be disappointed. The person that is going to come as a presidential candidate is called the Bessie. Whether he's hiding, whether what, he's campaigning, he's my neighbor, he's campaigning for Nandala. I know how the meetings that are conducted. So, Nandala has a strong record. And I don't know why he cannot even come out and say it. So, Bessie is campaigning for Nandala, set up Nandala can be presidential chairman, but then the other one becomes a flag bearer. That's what is going to happen. And I wish him to be the one to come because we shall be able to go. Thank you very much, dear guest, Mr. Fred Bamwine, RDC Mpigi District, Honorable Bettie, Kamya, President of the Uganda Federal Alliance. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry, Honorable Samuel Odonga Otto. Honorable Bettie Kamya could not come. Honorable Samuel Odonga Otto is Member of Parliament for Aruu County from the FDC Party. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond, Kizito Spectrum. We'll be back tomorrow.
Everybody talking like this in the car, this in the bar. Doesn't even matter wherever you are with overload. What you really
It's very easy to deal with this.
I'm telling you.
It's already going to
This is where this can turn you.